Global Dossier.
I just want to put this like where you're going to be most of the time.
Oh, I guess here to have access to the laptop.
Okay.
That's never done much as far as amplification.
This is for the webcast.
Oh, you're doing a web, oh.
Yeah, so this is for amp. If you want amplification, you want it on?
Not particularly, no. I project, and you'll let me know if you don't hear me. I have 3 kids. You'll hear me. So today, we're going to talk about Global Dossier. But in order to understand what Global Dossier offers, I want to give you a little context first. So if you're, oh gosh, sorry, Roger, that probably got really loud in whatever's recording right now.
No, it's perfect.
So when you apply to the United States Patent and Trademark Office with your patent idea, you're going to search for prior art, you're going to file using EFS Web, the forms are here, and you're going to get a customer number and a digital certificate number and so on, and use that information to track the progress of your application in something called private pair. PAIR stands for, if I had my notes in front of me, it would be obvious. It's the Patent Application Information Retrieval System. And in PAIR, you can, in PAIR, you can look up the information that the examiner's putting in there about it, the searches they've done to search for prior art, the correspondence between the examiner and your attorney or you, and the citations they've used to search for related citations and so on. You're going to find a lot of information there that will be useful, especially if you're trying to find out if there's any competition out there. So this information is contained in what's called a file wrapper. But before I talk to you about that, let me open it up and also tell you a little more about where we're going. So Global Dossier is a joint venture between a number of countries where they make that, what is essentially the information in PAIR, available for those multiple countries. And we'll show you how that works. However, it takes a moment to log into this, so give me just a sec.
How many people use PAIR?
Say what?
Use PAIR?
No.
All right, hopefully it'll behave today.
Yeah.
All right, very good. So you can search by application number, you can search by pre-publication number, you can search by PCT number, and of course you can search by patent number. And I'm just going to put in 9 million. For what it's worth, patent number 9 million was about a windshield wiper that collects the rainwater and refills the reservoir for the little squirty things that you use. So, yes, that was patent number 9 million. And we'll see if it comes up okay. It did not like that. All right, let's hope for the best here. Oops. Come on. All right, I'm going to try this again. Oh, boy. Do you have cookies and JavaScript enabled on your browser?
Huh?
Do you have cookies and JavaScript enabled on your browser?
It's just the way it came. I didn't change anything.
Then you do. Then you do.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do.
You sure there wasn't too many zeros in that?
Well, it wouldn't have sent me back to the caption.
Yeah, I should have just said no, didn't find the number.
Yeah. this should be fine. So I'm not sure what's going on. Oh, boy. All right, well, that was roughly a third of this presentation, so I
We can come
apologize.
back.
Yeah, let me try it one last time. And if I can't, oh, now it thinks we're in. I don't know what's going on, guys. I'm sorry.
Roger, do you have another browser on your
Hmm.
laptop there?
Yeah,
Let me try it.
are you in Firefox or? is
I am
it
in
Edge?
Firefox.
We got Firefox Edge.
Just Chrome there at the bottom.
Yeah, Firefox never gives me any trouble for this, so I don't know if that's the issue, but let's find out. Let's find
I
out.
know sometimes that doesn't matter.
Yeah. Now, for what it's worth, I can tell you a lot about what we were going to find in Pear, but it really would have been better to show you. Ba-bum. What is it trying to do here, Roger? Why is it giving me all this? All right, let me try again. Come on, you can do it. All right, so let's go in and see if it'll behave. Oops. One, two, three, and search. And it doesn't like it. All right.
You can put in a random application number. See if it does anything.
Yeah, all right, I'll give it a shot. Okay, oops. A-R-T-O-F-F-E-L-M. Random. And let's see, I don't have an application number off top of my head. But what I can do is I can find the one associated with 9 million. So let's go put in Google Patent and find it that way. Hold on, did I miss it? No, this is right. All right. Okay. So there's the application number. Let's see if we can put that in there. Get rid of that comma. Come on, you can do it. It's spinning its wheels.
Which browser are you in now?
Hmm?
Which browser?
This is Chrome.
It shouldn't be that slow. If you had it, did it work before for you with the slash?
Oh, did it complain about the slash?
I think usually it likes the plain number, but
I'll take it out. But let's see. Does it need an extra 0 if I do that?
no.
Here it's got 2, 4, 6.
Should be 8, I think.
we've got 8. So let's see what that does. Come on, go away. Why is it giving me this? Okay. And we'll hit search. Come on. And I was going to show it off.
It was like, well, it's usually pretty fast.
Yeah, I don't have problems with pair. Sorry, guys. I'm going to check the system status. Maybe something's going on. Nope, nothing's going on.
Yeah, usually it's just weekends.
Right.
Oh, their example, they do show the slash, so it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. But one way or the other, it should still at least complain. All right. Well, let me talk a little about what I was going to show you. All right. When it opens up, as it will when you do it on another day, you'll see a series of tabs across the top. And the tabs will include the transaction history, so you'll be able to track when it was first given to the office and when they had office actions and so on. All that will be there in the history. The image file wrapper, which we'll talk more about in a minute. There are patent term adjustments, continuity data. There's a tab on fees. There's a tab on published documents. So if, for instance, I pulled up patent 9 million, I'd be able to get the pre-publication document that they put on the website, as well as the original application and the provisional even. And all of that could be useful. You could find out the address and the names of the attorneys that did the work, and if it was assigned to anyone. And one of the nice things is that they have what's called an image file wrapper. Now, that is an odd term, but essentially what it means is, back in the day, when you got your application in and they did all this work on your case, they would keep it all in a little file wrapper. And now they've digitized it, so it's an image file wrapper. And in that image file wrapper, it's going nowhere, isn't it? In that image file wrapper, you will find all of the documentation. You will, for instance, say you're searching for prior art, and you find a patent that's kind of close to yours. You can look and see what the examiner did to search for prior art for that patent. Yes, Sasha?
You're just touching on a question I was going to ask anyway, because it strikes me that to get here, we've already leapfrogged something, and that is we have no idea what patent number or whatever we're searching for, so we have to do a Boolean search, keyword search, or whatever in the first place to find these numbers in the first place.
You're absolutely right. And one of the things that we'll go into in an appointment is to show you how to do a prior art search. The fact, hey, we're in. Today, when we talk about pair and when we talk about global dossier, we will not be talking about how they can be used for searching, because apart from the data in the file wrappers, there's not a lot you can use them for in terms of just searching. This is a way to find the file wrappers of international patents, and in the case of pair, US patents. So going back to what I was going to tell you, now we're actually looking at the information for the application. There's not always as much there. If I go to published documents, you'll see that there is a link to 9 million. I don't know, though, that I think if I click on it, it actually opens up that patent. And I don't know if I want to go through that again. But you'll notice that there's a link to the global dossier. So we can actually use Pair to go to Global Dossier from here. The application data is what it opened up to. You'll see that there is information on the earliest publication date, again, information about the inventor and so on. But it starts to get more interesting as we go to the other tabs, and it's acting goofy. Sorry guys, I don't have this problem when I do this at work, so I can't explain what might be happening. So it's aggravating, but I don't know what else to tell you. If I can get it to come up one more time, I will go straight to the image file wrapper if it will allow me to. Yeah, it doesn't want me to. But one of the beautiful things about this is it's a collection of documents that are hyperlinks. And what they've done very cleverly is they've allowed you to just click on a checkbox next to each one. And then you can click on the PDF button at the top, and it will generate a PDF document out of all those different things. So you can leisurely browse through it. You can very quickly find out the filing date. You can very quickly go through and see how the examiner searched for similar prior art. There will be records of all the transactions. They will include information on related patents, so you can use that information to look for other related patents in your search. I did not expect this to throw me off. Let's see what else. Yes.
So this is good from 2001 to the present. And in here will be published applications and issued patents. So anybody who files an application, it stays confidential, secret for 18 months. And then it goes public. If you find a patent older than 2001, they left those paper. So they only digitized for 2004. So you can still get it, but you're going to have to pay someone a couple $100. There's these services, they go in and they find a paper file and copy it and send it to you.
You can still find abstracts, things like that about older patents, right? You're saying if you want the entirety of the patent?
That's if you want the entire file. But you know, if it's really a close fit, it may be worth it. But that's the way they all had it done. So at least from 2004, you can catch everything electronically for no cost.
Yeah. I think of it as searching 201. Because after you've done your initial search for classification numbers and you've gone through all of that, and you start to find patents that are close to yours, you're going to be able to use that information. Come on, behave. Here we go. This is the image file wrapper. Okay. And you'll notice it's broken down into prosecution, prior art, and that's...
What's prosecution mean?
Actually, Roger, you want to define
It's
that?
just
That's
all the forms and paperwork and processes for the normal processing. And prior art is like specific other patents that were cited or publications. So those things, you can click on them and you can get the PDF and look at them. So most of them, they're going to be multiple page documents.
I'm going to try to do that now. So I've checked the prosecution for that first batch, and I'm going to click on the PDF and see if it'll give us the document.
And you can, when you download the PDFs, you can click on one or a group. If you click on a group, it'll make it all one PDF file for you.
It's so much easier to read that way.
And if you click on the title, it'll give you that one document page by page that you can flip through.
Mm.
Are you getting? Oh, you got some stuff at the bottom there.
Well, it didn't open up an Adobe. Do you have Adobe on this?
I downloaded that. Yeah, it's downloaded on there.
Oh, thank you. You could tell how often I use Chrome. Okay, let's open it. So here what you'll have is a collection of those documents. Now this came out to 55 pages, but you'll see that most of what you need comes up fairly quickly. There's the filing date. You get information on foreign references. These are German patents, for instance. Let's go through this a little more quickly here. There's the filing date. And here are related documents considered to be relevant. So if this is close to yours, you want to see these too. And let's see what else.
We find drawings and sketches and
Yes.
things like that.
Exactly, that's
Yep,
exactly
yep,
what
the
you'll
drawings are
find.
there. So everything's
Yes.
converted to a PDF.
Right. Now I'm going to unclick all of those, and I want to show you what they did for some of the prior art searching. So here's search information. We'll click on that one. And list of references. I'll click on that. A lot of this is useful, but I'm not sure how long it'll last, so I just want to pull them up
Don't
while I
hold your
can.
breath.
That's right. Here's another one. And let's hit PDF again. And there's this. So let's open this one too. Now here what they've done, why does that come up? Okay, so here what they've done is they've included the classification numbers that they used when they were searching. And you can use these same numbers, and you should if it turns out that they're relevant. So these are the CPC numbers. CPC stands for the Cooperative Patent Classification System. This is a joint venture that the US and the European Patent Office put together. Now, we talk more about how to use that in an appointment, but what I'll tell you is that probably the easiest way to dig up classification numbers at this point is the European Patent Office's site called Espasnet. It looks like it's spelled E-space-net, but it's pronounced Espasnet. And I think Brooke will be showing you a bit more about that in a minute. And you'll also see that they search some of the US classification numbers, which granted we don't use anymore, but there's no reason you wouldn't want to search them. They'll pull up old patents just as well as the CPC numbers will. And USPC numbers, or US patent classification numbers, are set up so it's a number and a slash and another number. And that refers to the class and the subclass. So the class, slash, and subclass. And you can search those in the web-based PatFT and AppFT, or, as we mentioned before, you can use it in PubEast and pull up material that way as well. And there's quite a bit in here. There's quite a bit. So we strongly recommend that you get comfortable with going through public pair while you're doing your searching, because it will be a great way to supplement what you have to do. Let's see if it will behave a little more. I don't want to, I'm scared to pull stuff up. So you can get the information on related patents and applications and so on. In this case, this old application expired. It was an old provisional. Published documents gives you the link to the pre-publication, the application that was published on their AppFT site, and you can go through it that way as well. I am quite confident that Global Dossier will behave. So what I'd like to do at this point is let's see if I left anything out.
Now, will that just take us to the general Global Dossier, or will it?
It should take you to the one related to this, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I think so. Have you?
I think it just takes you to the homepage.
Just takes you to the homepage. Okay, thank you. Thank you. That would be asking too much. Let's see. So where does Global Dossier fit into this? Essentially, Global Dossier is a great way to explore what are called patent families. And a patent family refers to patent applications in different countries which claim the same priority date or filing date and normally disclose the same invention. So in other words, you establish a filing date in one country and file for patents in other countries that will honor that filing date. Now, I should caution you, I mean, it's exciting to imagine that your invention will conquer the world, but consider if you do believe that you will have a market for your invention in another country before you do this, because it can be expensive. You need to hire local agents in that country, and you need to go through a long procedure, either whether you go through the Paris Convention or the Patent Cooperation Treaty, and there are a variety of ways to approach this, but it can be expensive, so you want to think of it as a cost-effectiveness analysis before you go there. Now, having said that, let's assume that you do think that this is going to work for you. There are ways to do this. We can go into some of this in an appointment. I don't want to go into too much about international filing right now because it actually is a bit complicated. They've tried to make it a little simpler. I think Global Dossier is part of that. So at this point, I do want to have Brooke talk to you about Global Dossier. You will see in action what a patent family looks like, and we'll show you a little about how you can search for it. And I will give you Brooke.
To go through Global Dossier. So, like Steve said, this is for looking at patent families on the international level. And there's a few ways to get to Global Dossier, so you can do it here. And this will just take... Oh, it did pull it up. Okay, good. But so you can get through it there. Okay, no, the home page. But it did put your number in here, so you got some of it. You can get through it there. Googling it is one way, obviously, or Binging it. I don't use Bing, but this will come up here. And then if you're on the USPTO website and you're not in pair, you can get to it through Global Dossier. And if you go through this way, I want to point out, it's going to take you to their information page about Global Dossier. But if you click on Access Global Dossier here, it'll take you to this same spot. So let's go through some of this here. This will take you to the home page right here. Public pair, it'll take you back to where Steve just was. And then this is Common Citation Document. This is a place where you can go. So Global Dossier is IP5 members. And we're talking, when we say IP5, the major 5 patent offices: Korea, China, Japan, the US, and the European Patent Office. So they're the ones that are in this as well. There's also some more WIPO case, which is centralized access to, I can never remember this, centralized access to search and, where is it? To search and examination. And those include a lot more countries, but they're not part of that IP5. So it's kind of hit or miss if you can get those WIPO case countries in here. But for today's lesson, we'll just focus on the IP5. And this Common Citation Document, this is a place where those IP5 countries can come in and put all of their citation information, and you can access that prior art as well. But maybe we can come back to that later, but we're gonna focus just on Dossier because there's a lot to go over here. Current service status, it's just giving you service availability. If they have things that they're updating, you can find that information here. You can look specifically at what China's up to as far as their availability. We might not want to wait for that. It looks like the only thing up there is that Korean holiday tomorrow, so they will not be doing anything with Global Dossier. Service hours. USPTO, EPO, Japan, Korea, China. These are all of their scheduled maintenance in red here. This is when they do updates for patent family information. Dossier content information, they do it here. classification and citation for information for the CCD, these are the hours as well. So if you're running into problems that we had with PAIR, for instance, you could come here and see if maybe you're just using it on one of their service hours. Their help information there, this will go through. It's okay, it's pretty general. If you need a refresher, I would say it's worth it. You can go through and get information on the landing page, what each thing does. So if you need a refresher after this, it's not a bad help, but it's pretty general. You can contact them, their email address is here. Fairly receptive. And then they just give you this downloadable Adobe Reader because you would be using it to access some of this dossier information. So if we come down here to this second banner, if we click on Office, we have the option of choosing information from US, China, Europe, Korea, Japan, WIPO, and then CASE. Now, there's two, the reason why WIPO and CASE are actually, CASE is part of WIPO, WIPO developed CASE. But because WIPO is just those PCT applications, and they have kind of a funky setup here as far as their applications and document numbers are concerned. So they took WIPO out for PCT.
Are they showing it translated, or you actually see it in Chinese?
They are translated. They're machine translated. We found them translated from Chinese, Korean, and Japanese. But as far as some of them are, French, German, I couldn't find any information that would tell me whether or not they're translating to that, from that into English.
You might be able to do that on a space.
Yeah, Espasnet though does, if you're familiar with Espasnet, they do pretty decent on-demand translations for their, so if all else fails, you could always go there and get some information. And then CASE is just, like Australia is a member of CASE, Great Britain, Israel, Canada, yeah, they're all members of CASE. And so sometimes, and so here we have Australia, you can find, sometimes you can find CASE info in there. Again, I'm just kind of showing you this. We're not gonna look at WIPO or CASE. So we can pick our office, we're gonna leave it on US, and then you can come over here and look at application, pre-grant publications, and then actual granted patents. So there's a little bit of a difference between application numbers and pre-grant publication. Application numbers have, if you've seen it on, let's see if I can pull one up here really quick. I know this is ridiculous, but I need to go to Google to do this. I want to show you this so it makes a little bit more sense. This patent here. Okay, so right here we have our pre-grant publication number, which would be this here in Global Dossier. Here is the application number. So this 10 in front of the 10 and then a slash, the 10 is a series code. And so in a series code, you have so many years that fit into a series code. And so that's why you have 10 and then a slash and then the application number. So that's the difference there. We're gonna look at a granted patent today for our example. But as you can see here, application, you would have the X's here are gonna be the series code and then that number afterwards. The pre-grant publication, the 4-digit year, and then those other numbers. And then just for patents, it's just gonna be my go-to here. This little number here, this little I, lowercase I, it'll tell you the format it likes, and this also will, if it doesn't like the number, it'll stay red. So you kind of know if it's going to give you trouble. So we're running a search on a patent number. And this is kind of a big one, so it might take just a second. Okay, so now we're in Global Dossier, and we've just run a search for the patent family members on this granted patent here. So here we have our US patent number. It says there's 46 members in this patent family, but only 14 are shown. And as you can see over here, all of the IP5 offices are checked, and so that's all we're looking at right now, are the IP5, and that's why there's only 14. If we click non-IP5, which is including the WIPO and the CASE, you'll see that more we're getting all 46. Part of the problem here with the WIPO case is the information has to be sent from that patent office to be put into this system here. And as you can see in this one, not a lot of these WIPO case patents information file wrappers are included. So if you run into that, there's just not a lot you can do. I mean, you can maybe come in here, but again, these are priority documents, so I don't know if you would even be able to find a whole lot of information. A SPOSnet maybe would be your best bet for that. So let's get out of that and just look at these IP5s here. So 14 members in this patent family here. We have, if we just go across this banner here, the office is telling us where it's coming from. So this is from the EPO. It's giving us the application number, the applicant, the title of the application here, the application date, the priority number of the documents. And so that is this CA here with this is a PCT application. So that's considered a priority document in this case. And then US 60189085, you can see it comes up a few times through here. That's the actual provisional application that was filed as a priority document in this. And so really there's not any other way, and you'll probably know this, Roger, better than I, to see provisional, you know, unless it's gone through the actual prosecution and they filed a non-provisional afterwards, and yeah. So you do get to see these here, and I'll pull one of those up here in a second to look at. So you have the priority numbers there, the publication number, and that's telling us here with the kind codes if it's a granted patent or just an application, and then the date that it was actually published. Over here we have action. The little toolbox here with the number next to it is office actions. So it's telling us that this one particular application here has 10 office actions. And over here, if you decide that you want to look at this later and add it to a collection, you can mark the star and it'll come up here into the collections box. If you close out of it, it erases it. So just be prepared if you had some saved in collections. You might want to save those somewhere before you move on. So let's look at these here. So the little, the pluses here. Click the one in the banner. It's going to open up all of this for all of them. And then the single ones next to it are obviously just going to open that particular information. Same when you click on Dossier Office Action, it's going to do the same thing. View Dossier, that's going to bring us to all of the office actions. So let me go back really quick and show you. When you click this here, it's giving you the most recent documents in this file wrapper, and then the most recent office actions over here. But we want to see more than that because there's more. So we're just going to go to the full dossier view. So we've got a split screen here, and we've got all the documents over here, and these can be arranged however you want, really. We can look at all of the documents involved in this. You can look at just office actions. You can look at incoming, outgoing documents, just the citation and classification documents. So however you want to organize this to view.
What does incoming and outgoing documents mean?
So what you're sending to your examiner and then what they're sending you back. So outgoing is what you would send,
This is
incoming.
my patent idea or.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to see, like, if they might have got rejected on some features in their invention, and then they altered them, and then to see the examiner accepted that or not. So it kind of gives you an idea, like, what passed and what didn't.
Patent offices are all different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you want to get something passed in another country, you want to see, you know, why did it pass here but not there?
Yeah.
And
This is a
do
good
that.
place to do that. Yeah. So we can look at all of these. We're just going to see, and there's quite a few in this one application. But I, just as my own searching, I like to start from the beginning. So you can see here, you can look at drawings, and it'll come up over here on the side. And so you can just look at drawings. If you,
What is the patent filing for? What's the actual product that they're patent that they're
Actually, I looked it up. You know those explosive sniffers that the TSA uses in the airports.
Oh, yeah.
This is behind some of the technology for that.
You can also see the priority document, which I was just talking about
Now
here.
this, when you got all those offices, this is the same application that was filed in all the
Yeah, for each separate one, so you can go
So we're looking at the same technology, but in the different folders.
to see what they did for each
Okay.
country. Yeah.
Your updates.
You can just, you should be able to tell it no after that.
Okay, let's try
You
it.
know, it's like, you get all these rude interruptions.
Breaking my flow here. Okay, maybe we're good here. So I just clicked on priority document, and here's our provisional application. So you can take a look at that as well. If you've never seen one, I had not actually seen one until this, so I thought it was kind of interesting. I don't know if, maybe not, that's not for everyone, but I thought it was nice. And so then it's just going through here, and if you want to look at some of the outgoing documents, for instance, let's look at that. Yeah, so these are the outgoing documents, International Preliminary Examination Report, a lot of those, communication to designated inventor. So that's just another way to look at all of these. Also up here, under application number, back in the patent family here, this is a list of all of those applications. So you don't have to necessarily go back to that list. Since we're already in the dossier viewing, we could just switch from application to application here without having to go back. And again, it's just the same thing. You can search by date. These codes here in groups, they are office specific. So, and some of them kind of make sense. The priority document, for instance, will say PRIO or something, DOC. I mean, you can kind of tell what it is, but it's all, I don't think it's anything too important. It's just
Does
patent
the,
office specific.
So the EPO basically represents the whole European Union. You're not going to find German patent office in global dossier.
Yes,
You
you
can-
will. It's a little confusing. The way I understand it is, if you apply through Paris Convention, well, or more specifically, through PCT, through Patent Cooperation Treaty, it's a two-phase process. You're going to apply through the PCT, and that's called the international phase. And they will do a preliminary search to see if there's any prior art. If you pay them, they'll do a preliminary examination to see if it's going to pass muster. But once that's done, you then move on to the national phase, and you then apply to individual patent offices in individual countries or regions. And the nice thing, though, is that once you've prepared your PCT application, they're fairly uniform. So you don't have to create a whole new application for each country. You're kind of ready to do that if you decide that this is a country you want to go to.
Right, you tell Germany, this is my PCT number,
Yeah.
and they're in and done. Yeah.
Yes.
So it streamlines it, but does it save you money?
Yeah, it's like the upfront administrative is consolidated and consistent,
Yeah.
but then but PCT doesn't issue the patent.
No.
It goes to the country and issues in the individual country.
And even though it is fairly streamlined in the sense that the PCT application should be enough for each country, certain countries do have idiosyncrasies, so there are minor changes you might have to make. But essentially, the application part is done as far as the amount of work you have to do. So they tried to make it easier. They're trying to make it easier.
And then the other thing I want to show you here is under options, just, you know, you can open document, new window, download the document, and then add to this collections here. So that's really the bulk of Global Dossier is viewing these file wrappers here. If we click on patent family here, it's just going to take us to that list.
That's all, yeah, that's.
That's all they're paying,
But the global dossier will have the US information because we feed it into the
So
system.
then it's actually the same as pair if it's just a
Same as
for
pair.
one country, okay.
And so this is some of the kind of like CCD, but it's giving you citation information from the examiner, from the applicant, so you can see that information as well. And then if there's non-patent literature, it would be there as well. I didn't find a lot in this, under this patent number.
So they've done some of the work for you.
Yeah, some prior art information there. So you would find that under, let me go back to where I showed you this. So when we were in the dossier view here, I clicked on classification and citation. And one of them I wanted to see if I could maybe, let's find one. Sometimes they'll include classification data, and that would be the CPC numbers or the IPC numbers that they were using to do the examiners, where they spent a bulk of their search time doing that. So you would find that information in there as well. If, let's see, maybe the EPO, yeah. Oh, here we go, yeah. So you have IPC numbers that were used and then CPC numbers as well. And so that's a good place too, if you hadn't seen any of these, to go back into maybe a SPOSNet or even the USPTO and run another patent search. See if you can dig up any prior art there.
If I'm in global dossier and I'm looking at the examiner search in China or something,
Mhm.
can I go to one of their search results into that global dossier?
Into their own, I
Or
don't-
for that different reference?
Into their database?
Yeah.
I don't think so. But a
So I don't
SPOSNet
think so
might.
either, yeah.
SPOSNet
A
has-
But I
SPOSNet
can
would be your
take
best
that
bet.
number and then start like another global dossier search.
Yes,
Find it.
yes, you can search with the numbers there. In fact, that's about all global dossier will allow you to search
Yeah.
with. You know, the publication the pre-publication
Okay,
numbers
yeah.
and the patent
You have to
numbers.
know what you want to
Yeah,
look at.
you can't do a keyword search in global dossier. It's not it's not your first step in searching for prior art.
Yeah, it's like one of the later.
Where are you finding that then? Let's assume that something is not
Okay.
filed yet in the United States,
Let's back up a little bit.
right?
So, not filed in the
Let's say
United
it's
States?
not filed in the United States, it's somebody's only filed it thus far in the European Patent Office.
Then you would go to a SPOSNet.
I can find it, I can do keyword searches there.
You can,
Mhm.
yes. And for that matter, that's where it's a great place to start doing classification number search too. It's
Yeah, because that allows you keyword search
Yes.
internationally.
right.
Yeah.
Are the bulk of things that on global dossier, are the bulk of them filed with everybody, with all the different agencies from China, Japan, South Korea?
Yes, you could pull up an individual patent that way in a SPOSNet and look at that information.
No, what I'm asking is, when you're on global dossier, whatever you do look up, is most everything filed with all the offices anyways?
Yes, they're all in the individual offices.
Yeah.
In fact, they feed that all into global dossier on a regular basis.
Right, so I'm asking, do you find that most patents are filed and issued with all 5 offices?
No,
No.
No, no, no.
You find some
No.
just with a couple and others
just in a couple, that's right. And it's because it's expensive.
Right.
It's because they may not feel there's a market for their product in one of those countries or those regions. So yeah, you're going to see it's a bit patchwork on some of that.
I guess that tells you, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if you go to global dossier and you see US only, then you know they're not going to make the foreign work. So that's true.
yeah. So maybe that means that it's not worth your time, or maybe it means it's a fresh market to expand into. You have to make that decision for yourself.
Well, I was trying to show a global dossier in a SPOSNet, but we're running into more problems, so we might.
I've never been asked for a verification on.
Is that something new?
That might be something new. Yeah, I've never seen that before.
Well, it had to have been new within the last couple of hours, because
And it doesn't
Saw
believe that
it
you're
earlier.
human.
But in this one, if I wanted, let's say I
Yeah.
wanted to invent a light bulb,
definitely.
You can.
So, and that's where we start. Starting your prior art search is, ideally you want to take your invention and convert that into classification numbers. And the reason you want to do that is because just by using keyword searches, there's a good chance you're missing something. What I might call a table, Steve might call something entirely different. And so if you can find a way to go in here and break your invention down, what does it do? What is it made of? You know, just kind of come up with all these keywords that you can come up with, putting light bulb in and just, you know, throwing things at the wall and seeing what hits. This is the best place. They've been using, Espasnet's been using the CPC for quite a while, and this whole database, Espasnet, is really built around this classification system. USPTO is not so much. It started in 2015. They started using it in 2015. It's gotten a little bit better on the USPTO site, but it's not great. It's like, you know, when you're on a website and it says search this site, you have to use that. And so it's kind of an odd way when you've got a Espasnet that was kind of designed to do that. And so, you know, if I really was hoping this would.
Another example I
Work
like
here.
to use is that when you're doing a keyword search, you're going to find all sorts of things that just aren't related.
Yeah.
Why they use that word, who knows, but you're going to get all sorts of things. This example I've been using way too much, but say you invented an umbrella and you put an umbrella in as a keyword, you're going to get 30,000 hits in the USPTO database. But if you find the classification number for those umbrella covers, because you've got this idea for cover, you're going to get about 300 or 400. So that's really where you want to start. And then as you go through the related classification numbers, you can feel pretty confident that you've covered umbrella. So maybe, you know, in some sort of transistor patent there, they mention that it's umbrella shaped. You won't be getting that sort of thing. So it really makes a difference. You want to start with classification numbers. And Espasnet's the best way to pull those up right now.
And on this site as well, so, you know, I just typed in swimming goggles, for instance, and it came up. This is what these CPC numbers look like. And so I toggled it, and it appeared over here.
One note, you'll notice that they're written with a space. When you search, leave out the space.
And what would happen normally is when you hit find patents, it would give you a list of all the patents under that classification number. And that's for all of the member states, including the US, of EPO, and I think there's 37 member states in the EPO, and
Sounds
US.
about right.
So you would get all of those European. So it's a really good way, too, to do your foreign patent searching as well. And again, so then when you click into one of these patents, it'll give you some basic bibliographic information, and it'll show you some of the other application numbers. And right next to it, there's a little red circle, I think with a check or something in it, and it says Global Dossier next to it. And you click on that, and it'll give you that same file wrapper information. Theirs looks more like the public pair that we saw, and it's not as this. I mean, there's a lot going on here. The EPOs is more like private pair, or public pair, I mean, with their,
They still give you the abstract language, unlike the general.
yeah.
And then you get the figures.
And so, yeah, so then you can go into, because you're gonna find a lot of foreign language patents in there, or applications as well, and you can do, it's machine read, and it's kind of like a Google Translate thing. It's good. It's not great, but you'll get the gist. And you can do the abstract, the claims, the summary. So you'll be able to get a good feel for whether or not, you know, you need to hone in on that a little more or not.
And you can see
and
the
I wish I
original
could show you.
documents. They're there.
Yeah,
You know, if you,
they are. They're there. But it looks like this is as far as I can go. I'm Espasnet this evening.
doesn't believe you're human.
Guess not. But that's pretty much the quick and dirty on Global Dossier. Really, when you know, what you need to know, I think, as I was learning this, was pay attention to your, the numbers that you're using to get in, whether it's the application or the pre-grant publication or the patent number. And then when you get to this page here, you know, check and see if some of those non-IPI5 offices have information, and then just go through and view the dossier content. If you find yourself in Global Dossier, there's a good chance that you might not ever need this.
So I can look at a particular communication as a PDF.
Uh-huh, yep. And if there's a Japanese or a Chinese, and there was a Japanese in here, but the information was not provided. It'll give you, oh, here we go, German translation of claims. There we go. Answer the
Nice.
question. Yeah. So we have a German translation here, English translation, so it'll include all of that.
So
That
the
can say
applicant had already done these translations before they filed.
Yes. That's why they have to get foreign agents so they
Yeah.
can do the translations,
Yeah.
among other things. We didn't talk about the parts of a patent today, but just so you know, the claims are the section where they spell out what constitutes infringement. So if you find a patent that's close to yours and you're just not quite sure if there's overlap or not, you want to go to the claims, and if they claim that it does A, B, and C and yours does A, B, and C, you're kind of done. But maybe yours does A, B, and C, but it also does D. So then you say, all right, I've got something that does D, and begin your process.
So if we set up an appointment with you guys, you would be able to help us kind of even start some searching? Or
Yes.
help us figure out maybe the classification?
Well, we can't help you, we can show you how to find classifications,
Yeah.
we can show you how to search, but we can't do it for you.
Yeah,
And I feel bad because, you know, we show people how to do this all the time, but we can't do it for you. And it's because we can't give anything that might be construed as legal advice.
Yeah.
So if we tell you, hey, this classification number looks pretty good, that's legal advice.
Yeah.
And so we're limited in that sense, but we will make sure you're feeling comfortable with how to use the database.
Yeah.
And typically, the appointment is about 45 minutes of talking, and then I try to give people a chance to get started so they can search the SPOSNet for a good classification number and toss it into PubEast and get some results before the appointment's over. And I hover and try to answer questions if you need.
Mhm.
So do you have to register for the time-based allotments that you're allowed to spend accessing this information? Like, what is the limitation? You come in one day.
You can use it as much as you want.
Okay.
The only thing you might consider doing is contacting us ahead of time, see if we have any appointments that day, because we will need it for the appointment time. And I didn't mention, because I just spaced it out for some reason, but on denverlibrary.org, which is the library's website, you can see at the bottom of the page, there's a link to patent and trademark appointments. And you can set up that time. And as I mentioned, in addition to prior art searching, we'll discuss local resources and ways to save you money in this process.
So if you go to our website, which is up
Oh,
here.
thanks, yeah,
And you scroll all the way down,
there it is.
in the gray here, it's patent and trademark appointments. And it's just a quick little form.
It ends up in my email, and I
Yeah.
can contact you and we try to find a time that works.
This is when you want to become introduced to the system, correct?
Yes, we'll show you the highlights of the USPTO website, we'll show you local resources that will help,
Other than that, you can show up whenever you want to.
and use, to search, yes, of course, yeah. PubEast is available at any time, and if Brooke and I aren't there, we left login instructions at the reference desk. One way or the other will get you set up. We don't tend to have appointments on Saturday. Staffing is a little tight on those days. So that's a fantastic day to come in if you want to do some searching. The whole day is available. Sundays, if we have an appointment, it'll probably be at 4 o'clock. And we're open on 1 to 5 on Sundays, so 1 to 4, you'd be able to search. And then, oh gosh, we can always find time for you during the week.
So everything you guys showed us today is only accessible through
Only the downtown.
the downtown library?
No.
PubEast
PubEast is,
accessible.
yeah. But Global Dossier, you can do, that's
You can
just,
do anywhere.
yeah, you can do that anywhere.
SPOSNet,
Yeah,
that's
a SPOSNet,
What was the pair that you?
Public pair.
Public Pair,
on
that's
there,
on
it's
USPTO.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, everything we showed you, you can do at home.
Is it more secure but to do it at the library? Cause I've always heard Roger say, hey, don't start throwing stuff out on emails or,
Yeah.
in a sense, I mean, to be real protective, or don't start searching and someone's gonna be, hey, this guy's looking at.
Probably
Like
the
that.
most confidential searches is Pub West and East.
Yeah,
Probably.
that information gets erased, so, and we clean it up.
But you'd have to go there.
Right,
Yeah.
which was your question.
Yeah.
So it's just about that.
There's two levels of search. There's Pub East and West, which is only available in the library and in the towns. Regular searching anywhere on the internet.
What's east, west, I don't, sorry.
That's the examiner search software, what the patent office examiners use so you can get into their system. And they have training on that too.
And they put pub in front of it because that's the public version.
Yeah.
I can never remember what East stands for. It's
Examiner
examiner.
Examiner
Search
assisted
tool.
search
Search
tool.
tool,
Yeah.
yeah.
Examiner application search
Web
tool and
something.
is
I don't use West anymore, so.
web and West is a web-based examiner search tool. You mostly use East.
Almost exclusively now.
Okay.
For two reasons. One, East is better. East has more features, it's faster, it's more efficient. But we're also having technical trouble with West. And the software is getting kind of old, and I don't know if we're gonna fix that technical trouble. And they've got a new product in the works, probably gonna come out in about a year or two, and East and West will be. Yeah, and East and West will become obsolete, so. I don't know if we're gonna fix the West problem, but I don't know if I would recommend it anyway. The only time I was using Pub West after a certain point was for people who came in who felt extremely uncomfortable with Windows-based applications. People who were just starting to learn how to use a mouse and were very uncomfortable with that. And Pub West was more text-based, so it was a little easier to use in that sense. But I find that people are up and running with Pub East with very, very, few problems. So I do recommend it. If you do need to use Pub West for whatever reason, I don't know why, the public search facility at the 1961 Stout Street office does have, it still has Pub West. So you can use it there.
But their hours are pretty limited.
Their hours are limited and they don't offer any real
It's
assistance.
hard to get in.
Hard to get in.
No
yeah.
coaching help. There's a terminal there. You just have to just go.
In fact, they recommend you come to the library.
Yeah. So you're not gonna get anyone there to help you.
Yeah.
But it is, every time I've been there, it's sitting there empty.
I know.
It seems like it's pretty available.
And they
So
have
if you
weird.
know- If you know the system, it's probably a good place to go.
Yeah, one of the nice things that you can do there is create a user account, which you can use to access your search history. You can do that in other ways at the library by saving some of that information on a flash drive and all. But
Will they let
you can create a user account over at the Stout Street office. In addition, they have weird restrictions for security reasons, I believe, on internet access there. So you can't just casually go into Spotnet to pull up some more classification numbers. You have to do it through the Pub East software, which you can do. You can do a classification search with Pub East, but it's so much easier
Easier
to
with
do
Spotnet.
Spotnet. So you might want to do that at home first.
But you can do that at the library, okay?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
certainly.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have any restrictions like that.
He just asked, we bring in a thumb drive and save things?
You certainly can, yeah, and you can print out there also if you need to. There's a lot that you can do. One of the nice things that Pub East has is a way to create notes that are attached to a given patent. So you can click on the / button and it opens up a little text box on the bottom and you can write, "This is interesting." And later on, when you're all done, you can go to the page mark summary. It'll give you a long list of all of your notes with the patent number that it's associated with, and then you can save that or print it out.
So it creates a record for you
Yeah.
of, where you've been,
Mhm.
because you need to know that when you're searching.
Right.
Otherwise, you're manually doing this, like,
I don't wanna tell you that it's, you know, problem-free, you know, no place is problem-free. But, I've never, ever had a problem with puppies, for what it's worth.
Until you show us in a few hours, but it probably takes us, anybody, a decent amount of time to really get adept at working your way around to find the things you need, I would guess.
It's,
Yeah,
It's a
an
process.
investment of time.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're only searching one or two things, it's probably more beneficial to just pay someone to do it. But if you've got a half dozen or a dozen things you want to search, then it's probably worthwhile for you to learn it and do those searches yourself. I think for onesie twosie it isn't worth it, but for more than that, you know.
Or it doesn't hurt us, just on the front side, or you're trying to work through your, whatever it is that you created, but in the end, we still need to go to a patent attorney who really knows what they're doing, a thorough search.
for what it's worth, the prior art search that you'll do before you see an attorney is really a way to find out if somebody's had your idea and
It's like
find
a
out
early
before you
look
start
at it.
paying them. You can find out before you start writing out checks.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's good for you to learn and understand.
Absolutely. As you start going through these patents, you're gonna get a much better idea of what you need to put together for it.
So what was that system a long time ago at the University of Northern Library in Boulder? I don't know what it was, but there was access to patents there. What was that system that was?
Oh, that was
It might have been
probably
Lexis
some
or-
of the early databases, maybe
Yeah, I don't wanna-
IBM databases.
Yeah, I remember that. Really,
When the
that's
internet
all
was
it
just starting, some people had those access packages, corporations could use and schools had. Before, you know, everything was available basically online.
Oh, I see.
I don't think those matter too much anymore, because you
Oh,
can get
no.
everything.
Yeah. You don't wanna do it the old way.
Although like the, what we call NPL, non-patent literature, you'll pay a fee to like research, technical or scientific databases for journal articles, stuff like that. On that stuff, you'll still pay for those databases. But that's very specialized research. Because the patents are, you know, they're publicly organized, which is handy. But tech journal articles aren't necessarily, except these databases, of course, they want to charge you a fee.
Right. Yeah, even the public you know, Denver Public, we can't afford a subscription to JSTOR, for instance, you know, which is a great place to search for technical journals, but, you know, we just don't have enough demand, it's expensive, you wanna go to university for that. You know, there are ways to work it out.
So if an inventor did want that access, then the university might be an option.
That'd be the best option, yes.
Yeah, and you can go to the area library if you take your own device
Yeah.
and get onto their system and access their databases.
Yeah.
You can't use their computers, you have to bring your own, but if you do that, you can get on their system and then access all of that as well. Also, we have WorldCat or interlibrary loans, so if you have an article that you need, not pressing, I mean, it can take up to 2 weeks sometimes, we can try and find it that way
You have
as
to
well.
find it in JSTOR or some other database, but then we can track it down for you.
Yeah.
And we'll do it for free unless there's a cost that they give to us and
Yeah.
we have to transfer it to you. But we don't charge.
And that doesn't happen often.
No.
So there are ways to get it all.
Because I think it is hard. I mean, I've had some inventors like, if you only need access to the database for 2 weeks,
Right.
they're not really set up to let you do that, which is kind of, you know, for an individual. They want you to subscribe for a year because that's your business, but you don't need it.
Yeah.
So
resources are great.
Yeah, and we've set it up so that a lot of what we offer on our database list is available at home